Do yourself a favor, yourself and your kids. Take this useless government-made face prison and throw it away. Let's talk about masks. Before I even go into the damages these things have done to our health, our children's health, and the environment, I want to show you something. This is a letter, an official document written by the Israeli Ministry of Health in response to a Freedom of Information Act request about the necessity of masks submitted by a lawyer named Gadi Shiloh. Mr. Shiloh is a part of a group called Machatz Corona, or the Israeli Public Emergency Council for the COVID-19 crisis, which consists mainly of senior doctors and scientists who support a different approach. The response letter is dated November 22, 2021. The letter states that the responses are taken directly from the minutes of a meeting of the government's Epidemic Management Committee that was held in March 2020. I would like to read you some of the answers. Section 5.2. Our stand is that in wearing masks, there is an educational message and also a psychological effect on people. In the absence of a professional basis, we will have difficulty recommending wearing masks. There is no scientific proof that masks are effective in reducing morbidity. Section 5.3. The numbers are average and do not present a scientific proof of efficiency. Section 5.7. There is a doubt about the effectiveness of wearing a mask in preventing transmission. Section 5.9.1. Even if we do recommend it, the public must know that there is no proof that it does prevent transmission, something that was never officially told to the public. Section 6.1.6. As far as the general public, while the point of efficiency is not established, I personally, the professor making the claim, think that it is logical and that the public is showing compliance. Section 6.1.9. We think that changing the policy may confuse the public. Section 6.1.10. We must make sure that wearing the mask won't create more damage than being beneficial and giving people a false sense of security. Section 6.1.15. In China, there is no proof of efficiency. So, after that, we in Israel, for some reason, have a mask mandate. And not only that, but at some point in 2020, there was also an outdoor mask mandate, which is, of course, ridiculous. In June 2021, the committee held another meeting and voted against wearing masks in closed places, but 2 weeks later, the mandate was brought back. The European CDC and the World Health Organization both concluded that masks shouldn't be worn at all under the age of 12. Dr. Fauci, in an interview on 60 Minutes in March 2020, said that the general public should not wear masks, that they do not protect you, and that they might just make you feel good. A month later, they changed their direction and made masks a mandate. Why? In Israel, despite the objection made by doctors, a group of non-medical personnel was granted access to those epidemic management committee meetings and made them somehow change their minds, despite every study that still shows that masks in the general public are useless. By the way, when you follow the money, you see that those lobbyists who were granted access to those meetings are almost always with ties to big pharma out in the open. 60 years of science down the drain. Regardless of their efficiency or inefficiency, children and youth are for the most part asymptomatic. And as any first-year medical student will tell you, an asymptomatic person is not likely to spread anything. So, this thing, produced by the billions, polluting the planet, is worthless. It prevents nothing. And even the Israeli Ministry of Health admits it, and other health organizations. But it is by no means harmless. It's causing damage to our health and especially to our kids. Studies have shown that children who wear masks for a long period of time suffer from headaches, fatigue, bacterial infections, sleep disorders, skin inflammation, facial recognition problem, language difficulties, communication problems, and delayed development of cognitive and social skills. But what worries me the most is what those masks are doing to those innocent children as far as normalizing a dystopian reality. I see them in the streets. Those children walk alongside their parents wearing masks, voluntarily, even though there is no mandate to wear masks out in the open, or even a recommendation to do so, while their parents do not wear them. These kids are so easy to manipulate, so easily subjected to authority, so easily tamed that they just put them on. The schools employ special corona enforcers. Their job? To make sure that everything corona is working. That includes making sure that masks are always on. In some schools, it's not enough that those enforcers are telling and sometimes yelling at kids to keep them on, but some teachers assign certain students to enforce and make sure. Student against student. The school, which is supposed to be a safe place for those children, a place to learn and grow, has become a dystopian hell. Children are afraid to go there, afraid of each other, scared to be different, scared to say no. The same psychological pressure is being used with those vaccinations, peer pressure, anxiety, and fear. These actions are screwing our kids for life, and only if they are lucky and have good solid parents, maybe they will survive it with less damage. I want to show you a couple of pictures taken in the past few months in Israel. In these pictures, we can see the Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett with the Minister of Foreign Affairs Yair Lapid, Minister of Interior Affairs Ayelet Shaked, Minister of Culture and Sports Hili Trooper, the Speaker of the Parliament Miki Levy, and many more. Basically, all of the Israeli government at a political gathering, a party being held indoors, no masks in sight, except for the people serving them food and the security staff. These kinds of pictures are seen almost daily. They know these masks are useless. This picture was taken around the same time. These are first graders at school. They have to sit for hours like that, unaware of the psychological and physical damage inflicted on them for no good reason. This one is of Angela Merkel's visit to the Israeli parliament last October. Do you notice anything missing? The next one is from a bill called the Enabling Act that the Israeli parliament just passed and extended. A law that is basically the end of Israel as a democracy, keeping it in a constant state of emergency. This section in the bill exempts ministers, judges, and other officials from this law, which also includes mask mandates. So one law for the people and one for government officials. Last but not least is of the President of Israel, Isaac Herzog. Well, this one speaks for itself, right? So what do we have so far? The Israeli Ministry of Health says that there is no reason to wear masks. No study that proves it prevents anything, let alone transmission. The European CDC says no child under 12 should wear them at all. A long list of health issues, physical and psychological damage, especially for children, but not only for them. And a corrupt government that passes laws that do not apply to themselves. So why then? Are those masks really useless? Of course not. These masks are very useful in creating a new society, a broken one made of people scared of each other. Fear is usually triggered by the unknown. We are more easily frightened of who we cannot see. What a better way to instill fear and anxiety than taking away faces? What better way to instill hatred in people than to erase personalities, to blur your identity, to not be able to read lips, see people smile and identify them? Masks are a great tool for someone that wants a scared and divided society. And most of all, to create an entire generation of children that learn from a young age to be obedient, to agree to any directive, to not doubt authority, to comply. Do yourself a favor, yourself and your kids. Take this useless government-made face prison and throw it away. Stop buying them and stop polluting our planet with them. Remember that what is happening right now to you, if you live in one of those countries that has gone crazy over a virus with a fatality rate of less than 0.01%, and now with the Omicron even less, is that your own government stopped working for you. They're working for private companies whose interests are not your health and not your well-being. Quite the opposite, in fact. Your own government is now working against you and has turned its own citizens into enemies. When you face the lies, the deception, the corruption, the greed, and the insane dystopian reality they're preparing for us, using this virus as an excuse, it is your duty, our duty, to stand up and declare, I will not comply. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen. Please share this as far and as wide as you can, especially to those who are unaware yet. And remember, you're not alone.